Okay, what I'm going to talk about today is influences on Congress, why people in Congress vote the way that they do. And you might think, well, here's a law, do I think it's a good idea? If so, I'll vote yes, if not, I'll vote no. And that's basically the most important factor, but there's a lot of other factors too that influence the way particular Congress people vote, especially when there's a bill that's a close call, one where they could see it going either way. So we're going to talk about what some of those influences are. Today, which Congress people consider before deciding whether to vote yes or no. First is constituents. Constituents are the people that they represent. So for our representative in the House, Elaine Luria, her constituents are the people of the 2nd District of Virginia, basically Virginia Beach. And if a congressperson says, hey, there's a new bill out there on gun control, my constituents are against it, so I will be too. They're following what their constituents want, and that's called being a delegate. If you vote basically the way your constituents tell you to, you ask your people you represent, and they say vote yes or vote no, and that's how you decide, that's called being a delegate. So probably the biggest influence, one of the biggest influence on how Congress people vote is their constituents. Obviously, another big influence on how Congress people vote is their personal beliefs. And these are not necessarily in order of importance. I'm just putting a list up there. But if you really think this bill is a good idea or a bad idea, a lot of times that lines up with what your constituents think too, but sometimes maybe it doesn't. So if you look at a bill and say, you know what, I'm going to vote yes because I think it's the right thing to do. And if my constituents don't like it, well, they don't have to re-elect me, but I think it's the right thing, so I'm going to do it. That's called being a trustee. And so some people would say that the right thing for Congress people to do is to be a delegate. They're there to represent the people who elected them. If the people are in favor of a bill, vote yes. If not, vote no, because you're the representative of the people. Other people would argue that the best thing a congressperson could do is be a trustee. They're going to know more about the issues generally than we do because they live it day in and day out. And so for a lot of the bills where you and I don't have the expert knowledge or detailed knowledge, we're trusting them to use their best judgment, and so Congress people should vote as a trustee. So two different influences are their own beliefs, but also the beliefs of their constituents. Another big factor on how Congress people vote is their party. And if you do what your party tells you to do, that's called acting as a partisan. And so there's a bill out there, and you're a Democrat, the Democratic Party really leans heavily on you to vote yes, then you're more likely to do it. Why would you care what your party thinks? Why does it matter to you whether your party wants you to vote for a certain thing or not? Well, there's a party official called a whip. And a whip it's one of the leadership positions in the party, in Congress. It's another congressman or congresswoman who's been given the job by the party of basically keeping the party members in line. So Elaine Luria is a first-term congresswoman right now. If she gets a visit from the Democratic whip about an upcoming bill on gun control, and they want her to vote yes, then that's a message from the party to her. We really want you on this one. We really need your vote to vote yes. Why would she care? What can the party do for her or to her if she does or does not do what they want? First of all, they can give her a good committee assignment or a bad one. We've already looked at committees, and Elaine Luria, as a former member of the Navy who represents a lot of people who are either in or used to be in the military, would like to be on the Armed Services Committee or something sort of military related, because that's going to allow her to do more things for her people back home. And so the party decides which committee you get on. And so if she keeps them happy, they're more likely to put her on armed services. If not, maybe she gets on the post office committee or something like that. What they can also do when she runs for re-election is give her money for her campaign. Make sure that the Democratic Party is going to help fund her, that maybe some popular figures in the party will come to Virginia Beach and campaign for her, so they can help her out with that too. Sign or ignore her bill. So maybe she's introduced a bill that really matters a lot to her and would be really helpful to the people of Virginia Beach. If she keeps the party happy, then they're more likely to not sign it, but vote for or ignore it. If she keeps them happy, they're going to vote for her bill and move it along through the process and try to get it passed. And if they're not happy with her, maybe they ignore it, and something good that could have happened for Virginia Beach doesn't otherwise happen. So there's a lot of reasons why you would want to keep your party happy if you're in Congress. And also, if Elaine Luria is a first-term Democrat in Congress, maybe one day, if she keeps getting reelected, she'd like to be one of the party leaders one day. And so she could go in and, if she keeps the party happy, move up the ladder. Maybe someday she's the whip or the Speaker of the House or the majority leader or something like that. So there's a lot of reasons for Congress people to consider what the party wants them to do when it comes time to vote. Another factor that can sway your vote is the president. If the president wants you to vote yes or wants you to vote no, that could have an effect on you, particularly usually if the president is in your party. Elaine Luria may not particularly care what President Trump wants her to do right now, but let's say there was a popular Democrat in office, she might care about that because the president could maybe campaign for her when she runs for re-election. If it's a popular president, could come and say, hey, to Virginia Beach, give a speech, give a rally, hey, I need you to go out and vote for Luria. He could sign or veto her bill. Let's say she gets this bill through Congress. It matters a lot to Virginia Beach, and it goes to the president's desk. And he can say, hey, I'm thinking about signing that bill, but I need you to vote yes on this other gun bill. And if you don't, maybe I veto this thing. So what the president wants, particularly if the president's in your party, could really could make a big deal for you. Interest groups. An interest group is like the NRA, PETA, those are the two we've mentioned more than any other this year. And so if an interest group really cares about a particular bill, let's say there's a gun control bill out there and NRA is really against it, they could go to Elaine Luria and say, hey, we really want you to vote no. Why would they care? They could give money to your campaign, maybe through a PAC, or maybe they could start a super PAC or something like that. Some of the members could volunteer for your campaign. When you want to run for re-election, if you've got people working for your campaign from the NRA or PETA or whatever group, that's going to help you. And maybe they run commercials for you and say, hey, the NRA supports Elaine Luria, she's a friend of gun owners, or NRA runs a commercial that says, don't vote for Elaine Luria. She voted for this gun control bill, vote against her. So interest groups, they could have an effect on you. And then the last factor that we're going to talk about that can affect how you vote is other members of Congress. And that can happen in a couple different ways. One way is called log rolling. And basically that means if Elaine Luria says to somebody who's maybe a Congress member from Kansas, hey, I've got this bill that would bring this money into Virginia Beach and protect us against flooding or something like that, if you, Kansas person, will vote yes on that bill, I'm gonna vote yes on your bill that you really need for farming or something like that, so they make a deal. And so you've got to, I promise to vote for this bill because the person who sponsored it did something for me in the past, and I owe him or I owe her or something like that. And then the other reason why you might rely on other people in Congress is maybe there's a particular bill that they know more about than you do. So maybe you are from Manhattan, and what you really care about and what your constituents care about is banking and the stock market and finance and things like that. And there's a really technical agricultural bill out there. You're not on the agricultural committee, you've never been a farmer, your constituents don't really care one way or the other, but you do know you've got a really good friend from Iowa who's on the agricultural committee, it matters to him or her, and he or she's telling you, yeah, this is a good bill, we need to do it. So you say, okay, I'm gonna trust your judgment on that, I don't need to figure out all the details myself, I trust you, you said it makes sense. And so you're relying on other members of Congress. So when people in Congress consider how to vote, they've got all these different factors sort of pulling on them. The people back home they represent, the constituents, their own beliefs about what's right and wrong and good and bad, the party, the president, interest groups, other members. So they take all of this into account before voting. And so sometimes it's not quite as simple as it would seem.